In the previous two videos, I've been customizing the WordPress admin interface for a fictitious property listings website. I created a properties custom post type and enhanced the editor with advanced custom fields to make it easier to organize and maintain the website's content. In this video, I'll show you how to add custom taxonomies. This will allow us to add special categories and tags that are unique to the property posts without using the same ones as regular blog posts. I'll also show you how to add some PHP code to the theme's page templates to make it easier for site visitors to filter the property listings. I'll do a quick review of the work done in the previous two videos, but I've also added links to those videos in the description. In a previous video, we created a custom post type called properties. And then I created some sample properties where I used advanced custom fields to customize the admin interface to make it a lot easier to maintain our content. And the way that I did that was I created the custom post type using the Custom Post Type UI plugin. And with advanced custom fields, I created this field group called properties, and then created these fields. Some of them are text and number and text area, and then there's even an image. And that allowed me to customize the interface to make it a lot easier to maintain. The thing that we haven't done is placed these properties into categories. There's usually, for blog posts, there's a meta box here where you can enter categories and tags. Let me show you what that looks like on a typical blog. So I'll go into this sample post, and I have this categories box, meta box here, where I can enter, or I can select one or more categories. And notice these can be hierarchical. So you could have vegetables, desserts, and fruits. And then under desserts, you could have cakes and pies, etc. So they can be nested, kind of in a parent-child relationship. Then we could also add tags. So we could add apples and pears. But then apples and pears could appear in one or more of the desserts, of course. And then we could do the same thing for properties. But for a custom post type, they wouldn't be called categories and tags because we don't want to reuse those same categories and tags we did for the blog posts. We need custom taxonomies. So we'll create a custom taxonomy for property types. And if I go over to the front end, you can see on this properties landing page, it might be nice to have just under this sentence here, it might be nice to have a filter bar where we could have the different property types. So we could say houses, condos, townhomes, and then we could have links to each one of those. So if we clicked on houses, it would show us only the ones that are houses, or we could click on townhomes and then it would filter the results for just townhomes. So that would be a custom taxonomy for property type. But also, this might be nice for tags. So these extras here, carport, fireplace, swimming pool. Let me show you another one. We have garage, family room, lake view. So some of these would be reused, of course. So we could do tags for these, but we'll create a custom taxonomy called property extras. Let me show you how to do that. The first one I'd like to create is a custom taxonomy for property type. So that'll be similar to a category in a blog post. So it could be hierarchical. So the taxonomy slug will be property types, and the plural is property types, singular, property type. And I'll scroll down a little bit. I'm going to attach it to the post type called properties. This is our custom post type from before. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We don't need to set any of these additional labels. I'm going to collapse that and then come down to hierarchical. I'll turn that to true. And then the other thing we need to select is show admin column. I'll turn that to true. And then I'll click add taxonomy. And then if I go back over to my properties, we'll see on our menu we've got property types. And if I go into that, it'll look a lot like our categories. And I've already got some sample property types here. So I've created cottage, house, and townhome. I created those in a previous installation. We can go back to the properties screen, and now we have a column for property types. And I've gone ahead and assigned some of our property types to some of these properties. So now let's go back and create another taxonomy. This time I'll create property extras. Here's the plural label and the singular label. And again, I'll attach it to the properties post type. And I'll collapse this additional labels. And this time, these are going to be the equivalent of tags, so they're not going to be hierarchical. So I'll leave this at false. But I do want to come down to show admin column and select true for that. Then I'll click add taxonomy. And now that I've created both of those custom taxonomies, I need to remember to go back over to our properties custom post type and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And then I need to associate this custom post type with our new taxonomy. So I'll select property types and property extras, and then I'll click save post type. And if I come back to the property screen, we'll see I've got another column here. So here is our property types column, and then we have this property extras. And you can see that I've already created some property extras previously and assigned them to some posts. And so if I go into one of these property posts, we have these two new meta boxes. So one is for property types, that's like categories. And I've selected house on this one. And then for property extras, I've added carport, fireplace, and swimming pool. And if I look over here on the left, I'll see this is my custom advanced custom field where I entered those. So we can actually get rid of this field altogether. So I'll empty that out, and then we can go back into our custom fields field group and then get rid of this field. And so I can click update, and I'll speed through and empty all those out and then turn off the field in the field group, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've emptied all those field values for the extras. Now I can go down to the custom fields properties field group, and then for extras we can delete that one. So the next thing we need to do is all of these property types and property extras, we need to update our PHP templates in order to show them. So we'll be creating a filter bar here for the property types. And then on the property detail page, we'll add back in the property extras. We'll use that custom taxonomy that we created for property extras. And let me show you how to do that. I'm now in my text editor, and we've got the archive-properties.php template open. You'll also notice that I have the single-properties template open. We'll go edit that one next. And the first thing I think I want to do is I'll give myself a little room in this header area. And instead of this sentence here for choose a property to view additional details, I'll change that to filter by property type, or choose an individual property to view additional details. And then I'd like to create an unordered list. And I'll add a class here for my CSS called property types. And then the first thing I'd like to add is just this label identifying that these are going to be filter options that you can select. And then also I'll add a simple link to view all properties. And as you notice, that just goes back to the properties page. And then We're going to add some custom taxonomy code here. So within a PHP block, say arguments equal array, and then order by we'll set to menu order, show count, we're not going to show the count, and then taxonomy is our property types taxonomy that we created. And I don't need a title for the list items, so I'll just leave that empty, and then hierarchical I'll set to true, because these are the equivalents of categories, not tags. And then finally, we'll say WP list categories, arguments. Okay, so let me go to the front end, and I'll reload this page. And here's our new sentence, giving the user an instruction that they can filter the results. And then here's our filter bar. So here's our filter label, and then our view all link that we created. And then cottage, house, and townhome. So I'll click on cottage, and this is a generic archive page. This is actually the original archive.php page. And if I scroll through, you can see that it grabbed the correct ones, but this is not the HTML or the structure that I'd like to use for this one. So I need to come back, and I'll create another template called taxonomy.php, and I'll be able to customize the HTML to look much more like this one. So what I really want it to do is I'd like for it to return a page that looks a lot like this one with this grid. And then I want to repeat this filter bar and the same instruction, but instead of this properties title, I'd like to filter that by either here's the property type that you selected, or here's the property extra that you selected. So I've got this thumbnail image here and then the title, but in between here I'd like to place the property type, and then I'll style it up in a different style, but it'll help us identify when we use this filter, it'll help us identify which property types these property listings belong to. So let me go over to the archive properties page, and I'll scroll down right above this H2 here. That's the title. I'll add a paragraph, and for CSS, I'll do property type label. And inside there, I'll put some PHP. And let me show you in the code reference. So I'll put in get the term list and then search for it. So it says that we have 5 parameters. 2 are required and 3 are optional. So we have the ID, the post ID. We have the taxonomy name, what will show before the list, and then separate items using this list. In other words, what kind of separator there will be, and then what will appear after the list. So we'll echo the get the term list function that we just took a look at. Post ID, and then for the taxonomy we'll use property types, and then nothing before, and we don't have a separator, and we don't actually have anything at the end. So actually we don't need those, so we can just back up over and just leave those out this time. And I think that's it. So let's take a look back on the front end. If I refresh the browser, now we've got this house and cottage and townhome, but I don't actually want them to be links. I just like for them to be text. So if we add strip underscore tags, that'll just show the terms as text. And now I've styled them with green using CSS, but now they're not links. It'll just identify which property type that these show up in. The next thing I'll do is create that taxonomy template. So I'll copy everything that I've got in this archive properties template and create a new file and paste it. And then go back up to the top, and I'll save this as taxonomy.php. So the first thing I'll do is, instead of this title, I'd like to put in the property type. So I'll say PHP single term title. And then I can add this, which will be prepended in front of the property type itself. And then I'll come over to the properties landing page and refresh the browser. And then if I click cottage, it should list our title here for the property type. And then this is that prepended label in front of it. So the next thing I'll do, if I go back to view all and then go into this first property listing, I'd like to edit that single properties template to add back in our extras. So I'll go into the single properties template and I'll scroll down to where I've got the property extras. So that's this section here. But instead of this if statement, and instead of this part here, so that's our advanced custom fields, the field function. But instead of that, I'll add echo get the term list $post ID. And then this is our taxonomy, property extras, comma. Now I'm going to add back in that H3 for extras. And then I'd like to separate them by a comma. And then I'll put in an empty string for what will appear after. I don't need anything after the list. So I'll save that. I'll come back over to my browser and reload. So now we get that H3 that shows up before. And then each one of these terms will show up as a link. It automatically makes them into a link. And then here's our comma and space in between each one. So if we click on carport, for instance, it goes over to our taxonomy template, but it's got this property type, and it's including the correct term, but I'd like to change this type to, say, extra. So if we come back over to our taxonomy template, and instead of just this single title here, I'll say if is tax, or in other words, if it's a taxonomy of property types, then I'll display that property type label. Else, I'll copy this. I'm going to return the single term title, but this time I want to put extra property extra before it. And then end if. Okay, so I'll come back over. I've saved the template and I'll come back over to the browser and click refresh. Now this title or this label is property type or property extra. In this case, it's a property extra. Let me go back to view all, and I'll show you that if I select cottage, house, or townhome, then it'll be property type. And these are the listings that are cottages. I can switch over to house, and you'll see that it'll switch. It'll change the label, and it'll change what the results are. And then if I go back to view all, and then select this first one, and then choose, let's see, I'll choose fireplace. There's only one property I've listed with a fireplace. Let me pick one that has a garage. I think I've got several in there. There we go. Here's garage. So now it's property extra garage. So these are the results these are the property listings with a garage. Over the last 3 videos, I've shown you how to take control of the WordPress admin interface and customize the way that we maintain our content. So the first thing that we did was we created this custom post type for properties. And then with advanced custom fields, we were able to create these fields of various kinds, and we're able to customize the way that we maintain our content. And then finally in this video, we created these 2 custom taxonomies, property types and property extras. And we're able to place our property posts into different categories and tags, or property types and property extras. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions on custom taxonomies or WordPress development in general, you can reach out to me on my website at mpgilbert.com. I've also included some links to my social media accounts in the description.